Hi everyone, and welcome to this segment of the Render Like a Pro course, where we'll be working on the lighting for this case study scene, Oba-Adenuga. We'll be using the traditional sun and sky system built in with Vray to get light into this scene. And the big advantage of the Vray sun and sky system is that it's built in with the software, so it's cheap. You don't need to go out of your way to buy a third-party lighting source, as in the case of a HDRI. It's really cheap, it's really effective, it's flexible, and it's really very powerful. We'll delve into all the advantages of these tools as we work on in this project. So we have our scene already set up. We have it over here. We've done the staging, the framing, and the propping of this scene already. So what we do now is to draw a sun, or to put a sun in the scene. We come over to the create panel, click on the lights, go over to V-Ray and click on V-Ray sun. So I'll come over to the top viewport so that I can see exactly what I'm doing properly. I click on one end and drag, and this message comes up asking if I would like to add the V-Ray sky environment map, and I'll say yes to that. Okay, what I'll do next is click W or press W on the keyboard so that we have this move gizmo in the scene, and I'll raise the sun all the way up so that we could get a noon kind of scene. So I'll just raise it to about this height, and instantly I can take a render. And we have the render completed already. We'll just analyze this image a bit, but I will save out before we start the analysis. And what we have here is basically the white all around and the shadows. This is where I want to draw our attention to. A typical daytime scene doesn't have so much nuance, so you need to do all you can to ensure that you get nice shadows. A lot of people complain about daytime scenes. They say it's really difficult to work around, but the key to it is getting your shadows right. Okay, so the placement of the sun is really important. I'll come over here. It's really important. We've placed the sun right here at this angle to the camera, and we've been able to get shadows from the top of this form casting itself here, giving us an impression that this form over here is in front of this. All right, we have shadows from this recess already, shadows over from the fence also, giving us that impression all around. So the shadows have created the depth in this image. Without these shadows, would have a really flat looking image, which is not what we want. We want an image with depth. We don't want any flatness. So I have it saved out already. And in order to explore these shadows a bit further, I have some trees in the scene, so I'll unhide them. Alright, we have this tree over here, and we'll try to get more interesting shadows in the scene by using this tree. I'll hit render again so that we can see what this change has made in the scene. And we have the render again completed. I'll save out so that we make a small comparison and we can see the difference between both. So I'll save this as A. We have this rendering over here looking really nice. All right, but we have this with a bit more life and a bit more depth. So it's really nice to have a plant or a tree or something to cast a random, a chaotic looking shadow to add some drama and flavor to the scene. These are tips that help you get a better daytime scene with more depth. And straight away we'll go into the next mood. We're going to create a sunset mood, and we're going to do that by dragging the sun all the way down. That's just how intuitive the V-Ray sun is. So I'm going to take it down about this height. All right, and I'm looking at the scene now, and I think that I could harness the shadows a little. Since the sun is lower and closer to the horizon, I might be able to harness the shadows coming from this fence over here. And let's see what we can do about that. So I'll just click on the sun and drag this way so that we can have rays cast the shadows from the fence. So come over here, see, and hit render. And we have this render done again, and we can see that we're getting shadows from the fence. This is adding a bit more flavor, a bit more irregularity to the image, which is very nice. But I think I would like the shadows to point a bit at this chair over here so that it could lead your eyes all the way to the chair. That is one thing aside, and I'll just save out first. Second thing is we have this warm feel already. By bringing the height of the sun down, we've been able to create a sunset feel. No extra drama, no extra acrobatics, and we already have a sunset feel. That's how good the Vray sun is, really. But what if I wanted this warmth to be even more? I have the yellowness in the scene, yes, but I want to increase that. Alright, there's something that we can do, and we'll do it with the camera. It's called the white balance. So I'll just come out here and select the camera, go over to the modify panel and come down here. The white balance is currently set to D65, and D65 is a good value for a high noon scene. That's the one that we had first. Just pull it back out. That's this one. D65 is fine, works great. For this also, it's not actually bad, but if I wanted to have a more sunsetty kind of feel, I wanted the scene to be a bit warmer, I could do something with this white balance. Okay, so this white balance is measured in Kelvin. The white balance being measured in Kelvin means that the Kelvin scale is how the values for the white balance are derived. So this 65 represents 6,500 on the Kelvin scale. All right, and the Kelvin scale works in this way. The higher you go in the numbers, the colder the colors you will get. The lower you go in the numbers, the warmer the colors you will get. Okay, so we have D65, that's a slightly cold color, and we have that color here, blue. So what we're going to do is look at this scene again. We have a warm looking scene, all right, and we want to emphasize that warmness, make it warmer. So you get a warmer scene by removing your cold colors from the scene. That is really how it works. The scene gets warmer as you remove the cold colors. Okay, so we have this warm scene here, and we need to remove the cold colors. Right now we're removing some cold color, but the color is really light. So if we wanted to get our scene to look warmer, we need to remove an even colder color. And like I said, the higher you go in the numbers, the colder the colors you would get. So I will switch over to temperature and change from 6,500 to say 8,000. Okay, so we have a colder color here, and by removing this much coolness from the scene, we'll be able to get greater warmness. So I'll click render so that we can see what effect this white balance has. And now the render is finished. I'll save out again so we can make a slight comparison. Save the previous one as A and this as B. So this is what we had previously. Doesn't look that warm anymore now that we can see this. Okay, so that's what the white balance can do on the camera. So we have this image before. It looked quite warm before, but this looks a lot warmer. So this is a small trick that you can do to enhance the colors in your scene. Okay, so next thing that we'll do is to create the third mood. So I'll just take this one out, the previous one, take it out and close the frame buffer altogether. Okay, so what we're going to do is reduce the height of the sun. Let's take it down the whole way, down to the horizon level, and I'll take a render straight away. And the render is completed. This image looks quite confusing. You can't really tell what the mood is, but there's one thing that I'll draw your attention to, and it's the fact that we don't have any strong shadows in the scene. This is typical of a nighttime scene, but it doesn't exactly look very nighttime at the moment. And we need the colors to be a lot cooler. They're really warm at the moment, and we have a white balance of 8,000. That white balance is making us have this really warm color. So what we'll do is to take care of that white balance. I'll save this image out so we can make a comparison for later. Click over here on the camera and come over to the temperature. What we're doing now is to get the scene to look colder. In order to get the scene to look colder, we need to remove the warmness. Okay, removing the warmness is what gives us that coolness and gives us that coldness and that bluishness in the scene. So come over here. So for us to get the warm colors, we're going to go lower on the number. So let's go as low as say 4000, and we have a warm color already displaying here, meaning that the camera would remove warm tones in the scene this much. So I'll take another render so that we see what we're doing. And we have the render complete. We can already see that we have a much colder tone, but the light is really low at the moment. Usually the way the human eyes works is this: when you get into an environment with low lights, instantly you might not see much, but your eyes begin to adjust. They begin to increase their own sensitivity to light, and then you begin to appreciate the details even in the dark a bit more. But the camera doesn't do this by itself. The human eyes does this by default, but the camera would need to be told. So we have low light here, and I think we should go up on that a little. Plus, I feel that we could play around again with the position of the sun here. I'll just go over and take the sun all the way behind this time to get a nice effect. All right, and let's just hit render. Let's see what that gives us without touching the camera sensitivity to light. Okay, so this render is done, and I'll save out here. Right now the lighting levels got even lower, of course, because the light source is now behind, but it's a more believable night scene compared to this one. This looks pretty confused at the moment. So we had this by taking the sun all the way behind, lowering the height to the horizon, so you have something that looks more believable as a night scene than this. So this is why I stress the fact that the position of your light is really important. So we'll work with this one. Looks a lot better, but the lighting levels are low, so we need to work on the camera, and we're going to work on the shutter speed of the camera. Okay, we're going to take this value from 200, we'll reduce it to about 100. What we are doing now is increasing the camera's sensitivity to light. That's a simple way to put it, and we will see the effect when we click render. Alright, the render is done again. I'll save out so that we make a small comparison between the old and the new. So this is what we have. This is how it was before, and this is how it is now by adjusting that shutter speed. Okay, we're able to get increased lighting levels even though it's a nighttime scene. And I'll just take out these other images that we don't need, and we've been able to make this for a high noon scene, this for a sunset scene, and this for a nighttime scene by simply working around with the V-Ray sun, changing its positions and its height, and also working around with the camera, working on the white balance and the shutter speed. We've been able to get different moods. I want to say thank you for watching. We'll be working on the materials and the render settings for the final production, plus the post-production in the subsequent videos. I hope to see you on the next tutorial. Have a great time.